Out for another good rip today on the new DR-Z4S. So let's call this another episode of Ride and Ramble with Dualsport Doug. So we're going to talk about some motovlogging tips. First off, audio can make or break a video. If I'm watching a video and the audio is complete crap with all kinds of wind noise or background music that drowns out the voice of the person talking, the rider, or if the music is so obnoxiously loud during the non-speaking points, I will just click off a video and say the heck with this, I'm not watching this. I can actually name a number of content creators, I won't mention their names or channel names, that are really good about their cinematic videography and making the cuts of their shots such that it's timed with the music, but they will also throw in a bunch of narration after the fact, like voiceover. And what they will do, which is a good thing, is they will lower the volume of the music when they are adding their narration, but then as soon as their narration is done, they crank back the audio level of the music. Well, what ends up happening is, in some cases, is that their volume of the music is such that once the music comes back on, I have to turn down the volume of whatever device I'm watching the video on, because the volume level of the music is way higher audio level than their narration. So it's not that their voice and music are happening at the same time if somebody's doing voiceover after the fact. It's that they'll have the volume level of the music here and the volume level of the voice here. So I'm always fiddling with the volume level during the time that I'm watching the video. Generally, the volume problem is when they're doing voiceover on top of music. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is if you want to put music to your videos and also have speaking points in the video, don't have the music so stinking loud that somebody's gonna have to diddle with the volume, because that is a huge turnoff to me. Plus, like I mentioned at the beginning, audio that's complete garbage with wind noise or background crackling sounds or audio that is just flat out too loud. And if you're going to use music, don't use copyrighted music or music from any mainstream artist. Use music from a royalty-free music service. YouTube even has music that falls into that category that you can find on YouTube's studio app or studio whatever. If you log into your YouTube account, go into the studio side of it, and it's called the YouTube Audio Library. Nice and bright and early, and very little cloud in the sky today. Camera selection. I wouldn't even waste my time buying a GoPro. There's better options out there that are a lot easier to use and a lot less fiddly as far as mounting them to a camera. I'm running a DJI Osmo Action 4. I opted for that after fighting with the GoPro, trying to diddle with the media mod constantly and whatnot. I had a GoPro 10. I think I only used it about once. But the DJI Osmo Action 4 has a magnetic style clip mount the Insta360 Ace something something, I think it's called the Ace Pro. That camera system has a magnetic mount also. I like the DJI camera better than the Insta, whatever it's called, Insta360, or I don't remember the name. I'll throw it up on the screen. I actually bought one and then returned it right after I bought it. But it's not a full magnetic mount for the DJI camera. It magnetically lines up and then clips into place. So the advantage there is I have a mount on my helmet that's a Dango Designs clip style mount, and it has the GoPro fingers on it, GoPro style fingers. So I can take the magnetic base from off of the camera, attach it to the Dango Designs finger GoPro style mount, or any mount that uses the GoPro style fingers, and I can leave the angle lined up permanently. I don't have to constantly unthread the camera, which I'd have to do if I was using a GoPro, and lose my alignment on the angle of my camera in relation to the helmet. I just unclip the little, push the two little tabs on each side, pull the camera off of the base, and then I can manipulate my camera or quickly pull it off and run around and do shots at camp or whatever. Just handheld vlog style. So in that regard, I like the Insta360 or the Insta Ace Pro, whatever it is, or the DJI better than the GoPro. There's a lot of different mounting systems available for various helmets. There's a company called Chin Mount that actually makes mounts that are specific to various models of helmets. It contours and fits each model of helmet perfectly. There are some companies that make helmets that have a style of mount that takes the place of the vent in the front of the helmet on the mouthpiece that integrates a GoPro style action camera mounting system on it. Climb is one that comes to mind. There might be others, I don't know for sure, but there very likely are. External mic, I would highly recommend using an external mic setup. That's what I'm using, and I have the settings dialed in such a way that the camera doesn't pick up a whole lot of sound from the bike, but it does just enough where that you can hear the bike, and then my voice comes in crystal clear. The DJI camera system has a little square module. It's probably about it's smaller than the diameter size of a quarter, but bigger than a dime. It's maybe 3/4 of an inch cube shaped, and it plugs into the USB-C port on the side of the camera, and then it has a audio jack on the side of it that I plug my mic into. This DJI camera also has the capability of running the DJI wireless mic. I have not opted to use that, although that was my initial plan. But doing that, then you have two devices that you have to turn on and make sure they're synced together. With running an external mic, I've got a little bit more bulk to the camera system and a cable to deal with, but it's seamless. I turn the camera on and I know that my mic is going to be working. A really popular mic is the Purple Panda mic. I have one that I found on Amazon that was recommended through some YouTube channel. I don't remember for sure which one it was. It may have been one that is devoted to audio and action cameras and cameras in general. I think it was Wayne Rex. I'll figure that out and post that in a link down in the description below. Anyway, that mic has performed flawlessly for the year or so that I've been using it. And I like it in a way also because it has a relatively short cable. A lot of external mics have a really long cable, and you've got a bunch of cable to coil up and tuck somewhere up in the helmet and keep secured back there. It's been kind of a disaster for me making videos because I'll just get out on the bike and start talking, and I don't have nearly as much time to edit videos as a lot of people that are doing motovlogging, content creation stuff full-time. I work a full-time job still, so I end up shooting a lot more videos than I ever managed to get edited. Well, what I need to start doing is taking notes or going through my video clips after I offload them from the camera and make a note of what content I'm talking about or what topic I'm talking about in each video clip. I started to do that this weekend, but that is a time-consuming process in and of itself, especially where I randomly talk about a whole bunch of different topics in one video clip. I need to stop doing that. I need to devote one video clip to one area of discussion or one topic. And what I really should do, this is just a tip for anybody else, is that I should decide what I want to talk about on a given ride in advance and make notes of what I'm planning to do, and then go out and ride and discuss that topic. That way I've got some historical reference to look back on if I don't have the desire or time to edit that video right away. Sometimes it's months later that I finally get around to editing a video. There's videos that I've shot 2 years ago that I haven't edited yet. Also, come up with some sort of an organized structure for storing your files. I'm kind of haphazard about that, but folder names of maybe the topic and the date, and dump the various clips that are applicable to that topic into that folder. And then inside of that folder is where it's a good place to then have a file with notes about what the various video clips refer to topic-wise. I'm going to try it with an Excel spreadsheet, list the file names, and then which topic of discussion each file name applies to. And don't rely on storing all of your files in one given location. I would highly recommend getting a batch of external hard drives and making duplicate copies of everything. So if things go south on your main hard drive on your computer, you haven't lost everything. So I'm out here marking stuff for the upcoming Dirty Face Dual Sport next year. So I'm just kind of poking along, making sure that I hit the right road that I want. So let's see. It's not that one. It is the next one. Riding out here yesterday, I come up with a another option for adding some miles. Costco usually has a lot of different good options for portable hard drives, whether it's mechanical spinny style hard drives or SSD drives from SanDisk. Regarding narration, don't add pointless phrases and sayings into your narration. Like, for example, let's talk about these mirrors. I like this mirror better than this one. This one has better visibility. But don't say things like, well, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this one doesn't have as good a visibility as this one. It's pointless to say things like, I don't know if you can see this or not, when talking about various things that you're pointing out in your video. That phrase adds no context or meaning to the purpose of the video. Either people can see it or they can't. And just leave it at that. Just say, describe what you're pointing out and leave it at that. Don't say things like, I don't know if you can see this or not, or I don't know if you can hear this or not. Because it's they can see it or they can't, they can hear it or they can't. So when you're editing the video, if you can't hear what you're describing, then just cut that section right out of the video. And another thing to bring up about narration is don't use a lot of slang terms that may be totally familiar to your physical location or the country that you live in, because people from all over the world might be interested in whatever you're talking about and watch your videos. And there's a lot of phrases that might be common in one country that people have no clue what you're referring to in a different country. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're making references to weight, distance, and measurement, go ahead and mention them in whatever measuring system you use, and then when you're editing the video, do the conversion to the other measurement system, whether it's metric or SAE, English, whatever. And if you're constantly doing things like that, motorcycle reviews where you're mentioning your height and weight, you might as well just do the conversion and keep that number in your head. So when you are talking about a given situation on a motorcycle or whatever, and you mention your weight, just rattle off both numbers, the English measurement system and the metric measurement system. Same thing with fuel capacity or the weight of the bike or your height. So another thing you should do is pick some sort of a video editing software. There's lots of options. If you're Apple, you could use Final Cut Pro. That is a one-time purchase. You can also use some free software. I think there's some software called Filmora. There might be one called CapCut Pro. There's also DaVinci Resolve. That's free, but they also have a paid version. That paid version is also a one-time expense. Or you can use the Adobe suite of products. Their editing software is called Premiere Pro. That is a subscription-based software usage fee. It's a monthly fee. That's what I use. What I don't like about it, they don't have a subscription plan that will let you just use Adobe Premiere Pro. You end up having to buy a package that includes licensing to use some of their other software packages, which really aren't all that useful for video editing. So of course that drives up the cost. So that's one thing I don't like about the Adobe product line for the purpose of just video editing. And please, please, please edit your videos. It is so distracting to have just one long segment of video, like say for example shot from an iPhone or some other sort of a handheld camera, GoPro or some other action camera, where the videographer, content creator, motovlogger, whatever, doesn't edit the footage. They just do one long clip and upload it, and they'll have a handheld camera showing their face, and then they're spinning the camera around to show whatever they're talking about, and all of that handheld spinning the camera around, showing the roof of your garage or ceiling, or all of the clutter in your garage when you're spinning the camera from showing your face around to the bike. That's just unnecessary distraction. It's unnecessary footage that could be cut out. And also, I can say that I am kind of bad at this. Try to edit out all of the unnecessary pauses between your speaking points. Maybe it doesn't work so well with what you're trying to discuss or talk about. It's really easy to do when I'm riding along motovlogging. I may, like right now, I may not know exactly what I'm going to talk about next, so I'll pause for a while. That is okay. That's a natural pause. But a lot of people will talk and pause mid-sentence because they don't know what they're going to say next. So that is sort of an unnatural pause, and a lot of times it's harder to edit those out. Especially if you're moving the camera around while you're talking, or you're doing a, what do you call it, a talking head style shot where the camera's setting up on a tripod and you're videoing yourself discussing something. Those types of pauses between words, or unnatural pauses when you're talking in a sentence, like, you know, just this sentence now, I did that a few times. I pause between some of my words. Those are easy to cut out sometimes, but if you're doing a talking head style video where you're discussing something, all of those unnatural pauses are very hard to edit out of a video. They create a lot of distraction, and they're called, if you cut them out, it's easy to see that those have been cut out, because you know you're moving your head around a little bit as you're talking, and when you pause briefly between words in a sentence, then when you pick up where you left off, your head might be in an ever so slightly position, and people will pick up on that in the edit, and it's a distraction. Those are called jump cuts, and they're actually very distracting and very annoying to a person watching a video. So what a lot of people will do is, when they have what's called a jump cut, they will cut their clip at the pause, but when they cut out that half a second, 2 second, whatever pause to pick up where they continue, or to continue where they're going to whatever, do their next word in the sentence, to pick up and continue the sentence, they will do a brief, they will zoom in just a little bit. So that makes the pauses just a little bit more natural, where simply cutting out and editing out all of those unnatural pauses and not doing anything to the actual frame size, it's unnatural and it's distracting. Just watch some videos and you'll see what I mean. Generally, that is only a distraction when you're talking in a talking head video, or you're doing a how-to video and you're hand holding the camera, and of course your camera might be in an ever so slightly different position after your pause, so you'll see jitteriness or jumping around as you cut out those unnatural pauses during your speaking points. And I guess if you could try to train yourself not to do those unnatural pauses, and then you don't have to take the time to figure out a way to edit them out and not have them be a distraction. use a tripod. I have started to do a lot of work with tripod when I'm doing a how-to video, and I have the camera set up on the tripod and I just point it and zoom in to a certain location on the motorcycle. And then when I want to move the camera to a different angle to get a better visual on what I'm trying to show, I'll stop the camera and move it to a different location, move the tripod to a different location. Or sometimes I will pick the tripod up. Sometimes I use a short tripod so it's easy to pick up and use as a handheld mode on the camera for just a few minutes. So just experiment with those types of things, and it will make your video a lot more palatable to watch. But I would say probably the worst thing that I see, especially with a lot of RVers that have gotten into the whole motovlogging thing, is their jump cuts when they're doing a talking head video and holding the camera. There's another interesting dispersed camping site. We're sort of running along the top of the ridge right now. Limit the number of topics you discuss during a given day's riding session. So this morning I started out with the idea of doing a discussion about motovlogging and tips and tricks and whatnot. But as I've been riding along today, I've realized that there's a couple of other things that I can talk about too. So that's exactly what I've done. And of course, the more things you discuss in a given day's riding session, the more bang for your buck you get as far as the ability to create content on a given day. Another thing I would highly recommend is not to take your clips and just dump them into a folder and make a note to yourself to go sort through them later. Sort them now, like I had mentioned earlier. Get some sort of a naming convention to your folder structure, and today I have a handful of clips that encompass various topics, so I need to sort those clips out into various folders that are named appropriately for the subject that that video is going to be about. So I'm doing these various speaking points about my 3 topics today not in succession, but I've jumped around a little bit. Not in a given video clip, but throughout my various video clips. So I started out discussing tips and tricks about motovlogging, then transitioned to tips and tricks on the WABDR, and now I'm back to talking about motovlogging. So I need to go through those clips tonight and sort them into the appropriate folders. And don't just have a 2-hour video clip of you riding a given section with little to no narration, or no narration at all, because people aren't going to want to watch a 2-hour long video of you riding section 3 of the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route. Just turn on your camera, talk about it a little bit, and then shut the camera off. That's the trailhead, and I kind of had an interest in riding up that. But yeah, no, not today. It's getting kind of late. It's 3:15. I don't know, maybe I should. No, I'm not. Not with these stock tires. You can see that I partially started to turn around. That would be a better ride for earlier in the day, where I'm not running clear over to Chelan and back like I did today, or Lake Chelan. Also, when you start your clip, a good tip that I just thought of today is blurt out what you're going to talk about in that video, not because you need to have that portion of content in your final edited video, but as you're scrolling through your clips and previewing them briefly to figure out, okay, which folder do I need to put this in, because I have so many clips I don't remember. When you turn on your camera, blurt out the content of what that video clip is going to be about. And that's what I have done a few times today after I thought about this idea probably only 20 minutes ago. And then if you get to a point in the video where you run out of things to talk about, just shut the camera off, gather your thoughts on what you want to speak about next, and then continue on when you turn the camera back on. And then when you turn the camera back on, blur out the word of what that topic is going to be about. So if it's still going to be about, like, for example, me, if it's going to be about motovlogging, then turn on the camera and blurt out the word motovlogging. So you don't have to scroll through your entire clip to figure out what topic it's about and what topic or which folder you need to dump it into. If you're doing like me and doing multiple speaking type motovlog videos on a given day's worth of riding. So I'm going to shut the camera off right now because I have run out of things to talk about for motovlogging. Once I figure out something, I will turn the camera back on. Let's just motor along here and check out the views. That's looking down Lake Chelan towards Manson and Chelan. And we'll see you down the road. So this is kind of scenic. I just popped up over onto the other side of this ridge, so we're kind of more or less on the Antioch side now, sort of. I can see an old fire break way out there. That is Lake Chelan. And